Hello everybody. I'm going to start this video here with this extraordinary image from Mars. You may have seen it before. The anomaly in question is right around here. Can't really see it, but let's zoom in and check that out. Looks just like a door, doesn't it? Well, at first it does. But as you go closer, you can see that it's just a piece of rock that's been sheared off. Because you can see that it doesn't actually go into an entrance there. It stops at that point there. But the angle of it and the shading, it looks awesome. But if it was a doorway, it seems like a strange place to put it, doesn't it? Like, have a look at that. How the hell would you get there? It's a strange place for a door. Hello, I'm back. I've been sick. I got that dreaded COVID thing. You might be able to hear it in my voice a little bit. But how interesting was that photo? I'm not talking about the door itself. I just mean the photo of Mars. I know there's some people who will say that we never went to Mars and that's probably a photo on Earth. But I'm not one of them. I think we did go to Mars. Excuse me. And I think that's a genuine photo of another planet. And I just find it so interesting how detailed it is. And I hope we really do find a door like that. That would be cool. Alright, let's move on. I've got a few videos for you today. The first one here is this.
So for today's drink,
So there's a bit to say about this video. Like, first up, like, it does look staged because she's sitting on the side of the frame, and she's made it perfectly clear so that we can see what's going on with that curtain. And so that's suspicious to start off with. But also I find her reaction strange as well, sprinting at it like that. And I had a quick think about it, and let's just pretend that it is genuine. And she's got like a little brother who's constantly annoying her when she's trying to make her videos. Maybe she would actually react that way if she thought it was her little brother just being a brat. But it does, like, I had a closer look. I'll try and zoom in for you. And it's very hard to see if there's any movement in the background behind that curtain. So the main thing that puts me off is the framing there, because it looks staged. My voice is terrible, but I'm going to soldier on because it's been a month since I put a video out. So I'll leave that one there like that. Inconclusive or probably fake, but pretty cool video, I guess. Let's check this next one out. This one is more interesting. So this was recorded by a 45-year-old Kathy Gallinger from Kinte West in Ontario. Pretty sure I got that pronunciation wrong. Kint. Let's keep moving. So Kathy first moved into her home back in October 2018, and she quickly began to experience unusual occurrences, such as objects moving on their own and sightings of shadowy figures in the darkness. So she set up a webcam in her basement, and this is what she caught. And I really like this video because it's weird. Apparently these dolls, they date back to the 1950s. And you can see all of those dust particles moving about. They're moving quite quickly. And then that vapor that comes out of the dolls is moving nothing like the rest of the particles. I just noticed something with the particles. Let me just have a look. Yeah, there is. There's one that right at the end of the video where it cuts away, there's this dust particle that appears to be moving in a direction from right to left, and then it stops, does a U-turn and goes back the other way. Let's just have a look again. Yeah, is that weird? Does dust do that? Maybe they're not dust particles. Maybe they are actually orbs. Like, I love hearing about orbs because they're in all sorts of paranormal phenomenon. But most of the time, it is just dust particles. But that seems very unusual. Because they're moving very fast as well. Like maybe she's got a fan on or something down there. But that one that does that U-turn there, that's strange. You got to admit that. There you go. And then the vapor itself as well. That is weird. Because it's a dark vapor and it looks like it's coming from the dolls or just behind them. Yeah, I like that video. There's a spooky one for you. And just quickly, here's another ghost one which I found pretty interesting. Have a look. And so you can see here over on the top left, that's where the activity is. It looks like something pressing on the edge of the mattress where that arrow's pointing now. And then you can see the activity is supposed to be on this side of the cot, because obviously the cot's up against the wall. And so what they're suggesting is that there's some sort of invisible entity at the edge of the cot. And look there, that looks like invisible fingers to me. Is it invisible fingers? Let me have a quick look. Another look. Or are they like white fingers? Oh yeah, you can see some fingers there. Right. That is creepy, isn't it? And also what adds to it, if this is all real and not staged, is as this activity is happening, the husband in the bed there is awoken by something. It's another good one. Alright, let's see what stories I've got for you now. I think that's all the videos, yes. So, I've got here just a quick little article on a really old book. It just gives you a sense of the way Western society viewed the planets, and that they actually considered the idea of life on other planets. So this book here is called The Celestial World Discovered, or Conjectures Concerning the Inhabitants, Plants and Productions of the Worlds in the Planets. And the article says, this is a book which was published in 1698. The book offers a unique look into how people from that time perceived the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The book was written by Christian Huygens and explores the possible existence of extraterrestrial entities while posing the question of why God would have created other planets solely for us to look at. He speculates that intelligent aliens must have had hands like our own due to their convenience, and that they must also have human-like feet, unless they have developed the ability to fly. He also suggests that these beings are likely to pursue many of the same sports and interests that we do, such as astronomy, sailing, and listening to music. But they are also likely to be afflicted with poverty, war, and other misfortune, because that is what promotes invention and progress. The book, which is to be sold at auction, is expected to fetch up to $4,000. Alright, so let's push on. Face to Face with Bigfoot. This is a really interesting story, actually. It's a close encounter with multiple witnesses with Bigfoot. Jacqueline Lang, who was working as a ranch hand in Manitoba, Canada, in 1981, claims she came face to face with an unidentified, threatening creature. Quote, "I worked on a horse farm in Manitoba, and on this one night in winter, I went to the oat shed when I heard a wham against the back wall. It scared the shit out of me. I left the shed and expected to see the geldings, but there weren't any. Then I heard shuffling next to me in the shadows behind the shed. I backed up until I could see a head and shoulders taller than the line of the shed. It looked one way, then the other, then turned back, staring at me. In this moment, I didn't have a clue what I was looking at, and then it growled. Not a loud screaming growl, but more of a rumbling, and I could feel it vibrating in my chest. I panicked and ran for the barn to get my helper, and tell her what I just saw, fearing for the geldings. We both ran back with pitchforks, and it was still there. It again looked one way, then the other, and came back looking at us, and growled again. We were screaming at it, and then it leaned and jumped into the paddock and ran off." Close quote. Soon after they were joined by the farmer, who was armed with a shotgun, but it did not reappear. At around 3 a.m., they were woken by the police, who told them that the horses had escaped. When they returned, they found the terrified animals had run through a wire fence, taking out a post in the process. The next morning's newspaper added to the intrigue, as it included a tale of a police patrolman who reported seeing a tall, hairy thing which jumped across a 10-foot fence. After reading this news, Jacqueline said, quote, "We were just looking at each other like, no way." She continues, "A few things started making sense, like the oats having to be ordered 2 weeks earlier than normal. I don't really understand that sentence because what does that have to do with Bigfoot having to order the oats 2 weeks earlier? But I'll keep going. The nest made in the straw bales under the blue tarp out the back, and the morning when turning the mares out, they usually beelined for the door, but on this particular morning, they ran in circles just beyond the door and came bolting back into the barn. This encounter was almost 40 years ago, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, and I'm scared to see another one." Close quote. And there's just a couple of interesting points that I picked up in the article. This is some points made by a guy called Matt Moneymaker, who's the president of the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. And he says, "They do exist in Manitoba. They are more likely to approach farms in winter, especially where there is livestock, and will pilfer the food for the livestock if they are desperately hungry." He also says that they really like the oats. If they rifle through a backpacker's stash and they find a bag of oatmeal, they'll abscond with that bag and leave the rest, whereas a bear will tend to eat everything, just like me. In the depths of winter, they will sometimes enter barns and make nests in hay piles. That happens in the US too. He added that Washington State has the most reports, with most areas heavy with deer, the staple food for a Bigfoot. What do you think? I like this one because there's a lot of detail to it, and there's a lot of corroborating evidence, like the news report, the fact that the police turned up to let them know that the horses had bolted. The cops saw another sighting, which the cop had of a Bigfoot in the area. And so there's just all these details that really give weight to this particular report. All right, on to the next one. This is like a Mothman type sighting. It's a pretty good one too. A winged creature witnessed at a family gathering. Manuel Navarrete of UFO Clearinghouse recently investigated a report from a witness in Elk Grove, Illinois. It's Illinois, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Who said that she, along with several relatives, saw a winged humanoid perched atop a nearby garage during a family birthday party last April 9th at approximately 11 p.m. Quote, "We were at my niece's birthday party and I joined some family members outside for a drink and to smoke a cigarette. We were standing behind the garage when my cousin got everyone's attention and pointed toward the neighbour's garage. There on top of the garage was what looked like a really thin man, except he was hunched over and he had extremely long arms, freakishly long arms, that he was propping himself up with. He stood there, hunched over on his knuckles, looking at us with these bright red glowy eyes that did not blink. He had a pair of large wings that seemed to come out from his back and were slowly moving. They looked like he was slowly moving them up and down while he stood there looking at us. We were about 50 to 60 feet away from this thing, but we could still see it from where we were. He shifted up and down, almost like he was examining us and trying to figure out who or what we were, as curious about us as we were of him. There were 7 of us out there, and all of us had a good view of this thing as it stood there on top of the next door neighbour's garage. My 2 younger female cousins were saying that they were scared of this, calling it a demon. Their dad, my uncle, kept telling them that they were going to be okay, as long as they stayed by him and the group. It stood there looking at us for what seemed like 30 seconds, before it started flapping its wings. Then it jumped off the garage and flew away. It looked extremely tall and thin, like it was all skin and bones, and weighed less than I did. I'm petite, like half the size of my cousins, and used to get teased about it growing up. But this creature looked like it was even thinner than I was. It looked like a tall version of those starving children that you see on the news every once in a while. It was greyish black, and had a head that looked like it was shaped kind of like a praying mantis, except it had glowing red eyes that never blinked, not even once. When it jumped off the garage roof, it made my cousins and even my uncle scream as it flew off and over the trees in the backyard of my grandmother's house, and then it was gone. I know we had been drinking during the party, but no one was drunk, not even tipsy. And I know we all saw the same thing, which proves to me that this thing really was there. So he continues on and he starts describing this creature that I think it's just in Latin America. It's called the Lechuza. And it says here, my grandmother and grandfather both said that it could have been a Lechuza. And then the researcher continues here, Navarrete, the researcher. He says, I also made contact with 3 other witnesses, and they refused to cooperate in the investigation, many of them citing that they were not going to provoke a Lechuza for fear of reprisals. This has been a common theme in many Hispanic communities. Fear that speaking about or bringing up your experiences would somehow invoke the entity and bring with it retribution for speaking of their encounters. In Mexican folklore, La Lechuza is an old woman, normally a witch or a bruja, who can turn into a giant black bird. In most stories, the bird is an owl, but sometimes it is described as an eagle. And I'll just show you this kind of creepy video that I came across regarding the Lechuza. It's not paranormal, but I think it's in Mexico. There's this family that find this owl in their house, and I'll just play you the clip.
La lechuza, ¿qué hace? Shh, ¿qué hace? Shh. Todos calladitos, como la lechuza. ¿Qué hace? Shh, ¿qué hace? Shh.
Yeah, there's just something about that owl that looks creepy. Maybe because I'm not used to seeing owls. But if it is a Lechuza, then that family's probably dead now. They're playing with fire. That's all I've got for you. And I know it's a short video. It's as rough as it always is. I sound a little bit fluey, but I feel fine. I'm in the clear. I've tested negative about a week ago, but it's just all still phlegmy and fluey in my head. But I'm all good. So, I'll be starting to make more videos again. I got a good one lined up for you. Hopefully in a week or two, I should have that one up. So until then, see you later.